Christ. It's about uniting us and pulling us together. It's about helping each other. And so no wonder the shepherds joined hands that day, because their hands had been untied from all the things of the world, and they joined hands together to celebrate the birth of a child. But you see, an old-fashioned Christmas not only lifts our heads and unties and unites our hands, but an old-fashioned Christmas bends our knees. You see, when you think about what happened, it says that they made haste, and immediately they went to Bethlehem, and when they got to the stable where Jesus was lying in a manger, it says that they fell on their knees and they worshiped Him. You see, we get so caught up in all the busyness of Christmas. We get so caught up in all of the materialism of Christmas. We get so caught up in all the worldliness of Christmas. And so many times we forget that it's about a time to bend our knees to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. To remember that it's His birthday. It's not about us. It's about Him. And so an old-fashioned Christmas causes us to bend our knees. But I would share with you too that an old-fashioned Christmas loosens our tongue. Think about how that they couldn't quieten those shepherds down. They were so excited. It says that they told everybody they met, and those people marveled at what they heard by the shepherds. And not only did they tell people right there in Bethlehem, but it says when they went back out to the city, when they went back out to the field to tend to their sheep, they were telling everyone they met that something unusual, something exciting had happened in Bethlehem. And their tongues could not be silenced. Their tongues were loose because it was such an exciting time. There's a story about during the Christmas of 1879, there was an agnostic reporter in Boston that he saw three little girls standing in front of a store window full of toys, and one of them was blind. And coming closer, he heard the other two trying to describe the playthings to their friend, and he said that he never thought of how difficult it would be to explain what something looks like to someone who had never been able to see. And so that incident became the basis for his next newspaper article in Boston. 2 weeks later, this same agnostic reporter attended a meeting conducted by D.L. Moody. His purpose was to catch the evangelist in some inconsistency. He was greatly surprised, therefore, when Moody used his newspaper article of the three children to illustrate a spiritual truth. He said, just as the blind girl couldn't visualize the toys, so an unsaved person can't see Christ in all of His glory. And he said that God opens the eyes of anyone who acknowledges his sin and accepts the Savior in humble faith. And the newsman saw his need, and he discovered for himself that night the need for a Savior in his life, and was gloriously saved. So you see, an old-fashioned Christmas loosens the tongue. But I want you to see lastly that an old-fashioned Christmas stirs the heart. You see, as this portion of the story unfolds, the shepherds are rejoicing and praising God. They are stirred in their hearts, and it rises to their lips. You know, there are certain things that happen in our life that we just can't be quiet about. I mean, I can remember and thinking about some of the stories that have been told by these tonight, and I was thinking about when David and Clayton were born and how exciting that was. And I was in the insurance business, and I carried a picture with me. And everybody that I saw I said, hey, let me show you my son that was born. Let me show you his picture. And oh, I have plenty of pictures in my wallet of my six-pack. And if you'll just take time to look, I'll show them to you. But you see, those kind of things stirs the heart. But Christmas is a time for praising God for His unspeakable gift. It is a time when Christians may suddenly, while singing a familiar Christmas carol, find moist tears rolling down their faces. It is a time when we should be stirred to rejoice over what the Lord has done for us. We might be like the little child saying his prayers when he said, Mama, I almost wish God a Merry Christmas. But you know, it comes down to like the little 5-year-old had one line in a kindergarten Christmas play, and appearing in an angel's costume, saying, I bring you good tidings. And after many rehearsals, the little boy asked his mother, said, what does that word tidings mean? And she told him that tidings were good news. And so the performance began that night, and the little angel became nervous. And after a long, embarrassing silence, he blurted out, hey, I've got good news for you. Indeed, Christmas, an old-fashioned Christmas, is good news. It's real news. It's great news. The question today is, what will you do with this good news? What will you do with the gift of God's Son? Would you be kind enough just to bow your head and close your eyes for just a moment? As perhaps you reflect over and upon Christmases from the past. But you realize tonight that you need to be able to record this Christmas as a memory of the past, because you realize tonight that you don't have a Savior. You realize tonight that you need a Savior more than anything else. And so tonight I would ask you, what would you do with the good news of Jesus? Would you be willing tonight just to admit that you have sinned?